Hey everyone, Dr. Trevor Cates here, and I'm here with esthetician Katie. She is the lead esthetician here at the Spa Doctor. So I encourage her to join me today because one, she is our esthetician and she can talk about the skin side of things, skincare side of things with me. And also, she's doing the program also, and she hasn't done it as many times as, of course, I have. So it's nice to have somebody that has a little bit less experience to like remind me of like, but Dr. Cates, what about this? And questions that you have because you're doing the program too. You're doing the Clean Skin Reboot.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be a little intimidating from a person I don't know nutrition that well. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a cook. I don't know all those things. So it can be a little intimidating, but it's like you said, it's not about like getting rid of food. It's about just choosing the right foods and figuring out what our triggers are. So it's a little scary, but I'm happy. The first time I did it, it was so good. The results have been amazing. So
Yeah, great. Well, so today we're going to like dive into the Clean Skin Reboot. I'm starting it today. I started off my day with a smoothie. I put a picture in the group, and I encourage people to join us live. Now, if you can't join us today is not a good day to start. Maybe do what you can today and then maybe officially start when it works for you. But at least you get an idea of what we're doing and get some ideas. And the reason why I think this is such a great time of year to do this is we've gotten through the holidays, and now it's just the perfect time to press the reset button and get your health back on track. We may have had a little bit overindulgence and sugar and other things during the holidays. So it's the perfect time to do this program. I created this program. My book came out 5 years ago, Clean Skin from Within. This is the book, along with my notes and stuff with it. And we have our books with this. And I did this program because it basically is a cleanse, but I don't always like to call it a cleanse because that scares people.
yeah.
But it's a way to help heal your skin from the inside out. And it's just a 2-week program, so it's easy to follow. And it's a way to eliminate triggers out of your life and to substitute with things that are more supportive for your health and your skin. So, what we're doing with our skin is we're trying to find the root causes. And in my book, I talk about the 6 root causes behind skin issues. And what we want to do is we want to address those root causes. And one of the things that's big on that is food. And so there are foods that we eat that can trigger these underlying root causes like inflammation, hormonal imbalances, gut microbiome imbalances, nutritional deficiencies. There are things that can actually worsen those. And then there are other foods that can actually help address them, that can help decrease inflammation, that can help balance hormones, that can help balance blood sugar. So that's why I want to lead you all through this program because so many people have done it at this point. And I mean, it's why it's became a USA Today bestseller, as well as Amazon and multiple categories when it first came out 5 years ago. And it continues to be, we're selling it in multiple languages, and it's still doing really well. I'm working on my next book, which is coming out later this year. So stay tuned on that. Natural Beauty Reset's coming out in September. And we'll let you know more when you can find out more about my next book, which is a lot more on addressing hormonal imbalances and a seasonal aspect. But today we're focusing on the Clean Skin from Within Reboot. Now, you don't have to have the book. I would highly recommend getting the book. But here are the things that I'd like for you all to do to set yourself up for success, to make sure that you're getting off to the right on the right foot. So the first thing is to take the skin quiz. If you haven't already taken it, this is going to be really, really helpful for you. And just go to theskinquiz.com, theskinquiz.com. Find out your skin personality type, and please share it in the Clean Skin from Within Facebook group. So if you share it there, we can comment, we can support you on your journey over the next 2 weeks. And are you an Amber, Olivia, Sage, Emmett, or Heath? And when you find that out, it helps you address the root causes, and it'll help you figure out what are the most important things to do with over the next 2 weeks. So we're going to talk about that today. And so the reasons why I have Katie on, because I want to have her talk some about her skin type and her experience with it. And so you want to take the skin quiz. That's the first thing. The second thing is to get a copy of the book, and you can get that at book.thespadoctor.com, book.thespadoctor.com. And you could get it. Basically, that's where you can go to get it for free. Just pay the shipping and handling of $9.95 to get it to you. So if you already have a copy of the book, that's great. You could also go over to Amazon. You could get it there. You could get it, maybe get it, grab a used copy or get it on Kindle so you have it right away. The next thing is, I encourage you to get friends to join you.
Yeah.
It's easier to do this when you get to do it with other people. That's why we're doing it in the group and we're doing it together. So, so grab some friends. I actually have my fiance is doing it with me. Yes, I am now engaged. It's true. He proposed to me December 22nd, and now he's in this with me. So my fiance is doing it with me. Of course, Katie's doing it. That's the reasons why she's here.
Yeah. My boyfriend, I'm making him go through it with me this
Yeah,
time so that I have support in the house.
it's nice to have that support, right, Katie?
It is, and it's a lot easier to make a meal for more than one person, I think, is also part of it too. So, like, let's all eat this together versus like you guys have your food and then I'll try and figure out my own little meal. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's much easier with support.
it's definitely easier. And I'm going to talk more about this in a moment, but it's more than just food. This program is more than just food, but that's a big part of the questions that we get asked. So the next thing to do after you take the skin quiz, get the book, get your friends to join you, is to help you prepare. You want to look at the 10 foods to avoid list, and I'm going to talk about those today. And then those are in the Facebook group. And then also look at the bonus recipes. Those are in the Facebook group. So even if you don't have a copy of my book, you can use the Facebook group. So the 10 foods to avoid are in there. And then the bonus recipes are under the tools and resources post. And then there's a food shopping guide. These are bonus things that are in the Facebook group that you don't really get just having a copy of my book, but you get these in the Facebook group. So the food shopping guide is also really, really helpful. And then the next thing is to help prepare for the clean slate section. This is the skincare part, is to refer to the skincare shopping guide and go ahead and also schedule you can do a free call with Katie, with one of our skin experts, which Katie is doing the calls this time. And so you can schedule a call with her. We're going to post in the feed here the link to Katie's schedule. So you can schedule a free 15-minute call with her. Now, this call is not a diagnosing and treating call. Katie is not allowed to do that on a call. You'd have to schedule a doctor-patient. You'd have to establish a doctor-patient relationship with me for me to diagnose and treat you. But you can talk to her on the call about your skincare routine. That's what she's there for, is to help you understand what you can do with your skincare routine and your skin issues. So that's really the best thing to schedule that for, but she's available to you. And if you need extra support during the program, if you want a little extra lift, a little extra boost for your liver and detoxification, I would suggest getting our all-in-one 14-day cleanse kit. So this is one of our supplements. Again, you don't have to get this. It's just if you want to take it to the next level, you really want to make a cleanse out of this, then I would suggest doing this. I am going to suggest cleansing things that are actually already in my book that you can do, that's in the clean body section of the book. But if you get the 14-day all-in-one cleanse kit right now, we have a special going on. It's $40 off any purchase of $100 or more at thespadoctor.com. And the code on that is Reboot40. So if you just go and you just add anything, including the 14-day cleanse kit, if you add that to your cart, and then you put in Reboot 40, you can get $40 off. You don't have to do that. We're just giving you ways that you can get a little extra support. So go to thespadoctor.com and use that code. That code's going to be good for the next couple weeks while we're doing the program. So if you are going along in the program, like, you know what, I actually do need that cleanse kit still, you can still get it within the next 2 weeks. So just make sure you order it within the next 2 weeks. If you want to do like I'm doing, do it now so that you can get a little boost, a little extra phase 1 and phase 2 liver detoxification. Because in that kit, you'll find a packet of supplements and a packet as a shake mix. So it just makes it really easy. It makes it easier for you, and you'll use that twice a day. And you'll still be eating foods. This is not a fast. You'll still be eating. So you can also use that discount, by the way, Reboot 40 on skincare products, because
That's what I was going to say.
also, yeah, you also want to cut out the toxins out of your programmed out of your lifestyle too. Skincare typically has a lot of toxic ingredients, right, Katie?
Absolutely, it sure does. When I went to school to become an esthetician, I thought my skin was the problem, and really the problem was more the terrible, terrible products I was putting on. So
Yeah.
lots of fragrances, and how when you walk into like a department store and that fragrant wall hits you, yeah, that's not good. Those are chemicals. Those are things you want to avoid. So it's really important, not only with the food that we're taking into our bodies, but also the products we're putting on our body, because this is our largest organ and it's all over our body. So we want to respect that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Katie. All right. So speaking of foods, let's go ahead and dive into foods, because I see we have a question up here already. And please, as you're joining in, feel free to post questions. There is a slight delay from when you post to when we see it, so give us some time to answer you. But please post your questions. Also, please take the skin quiz and share your skin type in the comments so that we know who's here. Oh, you're an Amber, Olivia, Sage, Emmett, or Heath, because that will also help us give you some suggestions. So there is a question here. Thank you for your question. Is it true that fruits can cause acne? So here's the thing about fruit and acne is that really it has more to do with your blood sugar. So blood sugar is one of the big root causes behind skin issues, including acne. So what happens when you eat a lot of sugar, and that includes eating a lot of fruit. And I'm going to talk in a moment about which fruits are better to eat than others and how much fruit. But when you eat a lot of fruit, like say you're drinking a bunch of fruit juice and then you're eating some fruit and you're not eating other foods, it's kind of similar to when you eat sugar. If you're just eating candy, it can cause your blood sugar to rise. When you eat sugar or when you eat a lot of fruit or fruit juices, it increases your blood sugar. When blood sugar increases, that causes insulin to increase, insulin is actually a good hormone. But with an increase in insulin, that causes excess sebum production in the skin and excess androgen activity, which, Katie, as you know, that's like some of the biggest triggers for acne breakouts. So if you've ever wondered why when you had that little extra indulgence during the holidays and you broke out in acne, then there's probably the connection between the sugar and the breakouts. So that's the reason why sugar is on one of our do not eat lists. Now, the question was about fruit. Fruit is actually full of nutrients. And so fruit is not a bad thing. The problem is when people eat it in excess. When you have more than, I mean, for some people, you want to limit it to just one serving of fruit a day and then focus your other fiber intake on vegetables because they don't contain as much sugar, especially if you're acne prone. Some people can have several servings of fruit a day, but if you're getting fruit juice, what is happening with drinking fruit juice is you're getting all the sugar, but not the other nutrients, especially if it's not freshly juiced. And most of us are not getting freshly juiced. We go to the store, we see something that is like a smoothie or something that's been made months maybe ago. I don't know how long some of these things are. But at that point, all the nutrients have been depleted and all that's left is just sugar. So you have to be careful with that because it's going to act the same as increasing your blood sugar. Yeah.
Can I ask you just I've had lots of people ask me, explain how the histamine reaction of berries relates to acne as well.
Yeah, and so the other thing that can happen with certain natural foods like fruit, certain types of fruit, and that includes some of the fruit that I really like, is that is there are some high histamine types of fruits and vegetables. And so a high histamine causes more inflammation in the body. Some people are more susceptible to this. Now, if you go and take the skin quiz, and if you're an Emmett skin type, you're going to be one of these people that may be more sensitive to histamine um, in the foods. So then you might want to try a low histamine diet. That doesn't mean that we should all do it because there's so many great nutritional benefits to so many of these foods. But in susceptible people, it might be something you want to be mindful of. So, but most people, it's not something we have to worry about. It's just in susceptible people. What you really want to focus on is getting a healthy gut. Because here's the thing is you could be eating all the healthiest food in the world, but if your gut is not in a good place, and you're not digesting and assimilating your foods, or instead that your body is seeing them as trigger foods because it's so inflamed and disrupted and has the wrong imbalance of the right microorganisms, is that your body is just not going to be able to do its job. So, one of the things we really want to focus on with this program is healing the gut and working on the microbiome. So, the foods that you want to eat are things that help support the microbiome. So, I'm going to talk about foods that you want to eat more of in a moment. But let me go through, just quickly go run through the list. And I see we have an Olivia skin type on here. So thank you for sharing that you're an Olivia skin type. Unfortunately, on StreamYard, I cannot see your name. So, but thank you for sharing that you're an Olivia skin type. Anybody else want to share your skin type? We really appreciate that. So, here are the 10 foods to avoid. They're caffeine, sugar, alcohol, gluten, dairy, eggs, peanuts, soy, corn, and nightshades. Okay, that's a lot there. So I'm going to go through each one. But for those of you who are in the Facebook group, the Clean Skin from Within Facebook group, we have a post, right? Katie, you created those. Tell everybody the post that you created.
If you scroll back through the post, you'll see for all 10 of those trigger foods, details, kind of giving you more details about each of those, because it does seem like a lot. And you're like, so what am I going to eat?
Right.
So don't be intimidated. It's really
Yeah.
not that much.
Right. Thank you, Katie. And so caffeine is there are a few reasons why caffeine is concerned and why, and again, this is a 2-week program. This is not something that you necessarily have to follow for the rest of your life. Now, if you do follow this 2-week program, you will probably learn a lot about your body and how it reacts to foods and the things that you consume. Then you can decide if you reintroduce them or you keep them out of your diet. Might be some things that you decide you don't want to have anymore. So caffeine is a nervous system stimulant. So there are several health reasons why that can be a problem. We're constantly bombarded with stress. And so caffeine puts us more in that stress, that fight or flight phase. And so we don't get as much of a chance when we have too much caffeine to be in that parasympathetic, that rest and digest, that de-stress state. So it's very stimulating for our system. It's nice to take a break from it. And also, caffeine is dehydrating. So when it comes to your skin, that's important, right, Katie?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I think we a lot of times think, well, I'm drinking water, I'm hydrated, but it can still dehydrate your skin on a level that, it's desperate. So, but again, caffeine can be hard because it does have antioxidants, all these things that can happen. But that's where I think, like you pointed out, it doesn't have to be something you get rid of forever. You just see what it does for you and then modify accordingly.
Yeah, so you can switch to decaf coffee, which is okay. It's fine.
It does have a little caffeine though, just
It
as a form
still
of
has a
barista.
little bit of caffeine, especially if you choose the healthier version, which is the water press, the cleaner decaffeination way of decaffeinating coffee, it's still going to have a little bit of caffeine.
It
So
is.
what's better is to switch strictly to herbal tea.
Yes.
And so, and then if you absolutely can't do with the caffeine, there are some people that just get these wicked headaches. Can't, because basically that means you're addicted to caffeine. So then you could switch to green tea, which still has some caffeine, but at least it's a little bit less. And then hopefully you can at least taper off of that and go caffeine free for part of the time.
Yeah,
The other,
we did have somebody ask about matcha.
uh,
Because green tea, it's kind of in the middle. Matcha's closer to the caffeine content of coffee. So keep that in mind that if you are doing a matcha, that's higher in the caffeine side.
yeah, it does have some caffeine. I actually can't really drink matcha. It makes me more buzzy than
Mhm.
I
Me
don't.
too.
Yeah. So sugar is another one. As I mentioned before, blood sugar imbalance is one of the big root causes behind skin issues such as acne. Also, a big trigger for premature aging. It accelerates the aging process. It's also pro-inflammatory. I talk a lot about sugar in some of our articles, the blogs that we've written in my book. So if you have questions about that, I think that's pretty apparent at this point that sugar is one of the biggest trigger foods for skin. Alcohol is one that is it's tough on the liver, and when we're doing a cleanse, the last thing we want is to add alcohol in. After the holidays, it's kind of a nice time to take a break. I personally gave up alcohol about 4 months ago, and I'm actually much happier without it. I don't have any plans to bring it back. So this one's been an easy one for me this time. But I can tell you it wasn't always easy because I come from a family of winemakers, and it was a little hard to initially give up the wine. So I understand. But even wine, yes, it has some antioxidants to it, but it's got all that alcohol and the sugars. So it's nice to take a break from it. I can tell you, I've had so many different patients, women patients over the years, make the connection with stopping their evening cocktail or glass of wine with their hot flashes and night sweats and other problems with sleep. Men also difficulty sleeping at night. Sometimes it has to do with that alcohol that you're having before bedtime. It does interfere with your sleep. It's also, again, it's hard on the liver, it's dehydrating, so not great for your skin. Multiple reasons there. So when you give it up, I really do think it's a good idea to get a journal and to start writing these things down, because you'll start noticing, wow, I didn't even realize that giving these things up, I feel this, and this, or I no longer feel these symptoms. I have a symptom checklist in my book so that you can kind of go through that too and realize all the different ways that food can impact your health. So that was number 3. The fourth one is gluten. Gluten is not a problem for everyone, but it certainly is a problem for a lot of people, especially people that have that person that responded, Olivia. It could be a problem for you. Olivia skin types, Emmett skin types, Heath skin types. Oftentimes it's a problem for us. It can be one of the big trigger foods. There are plenty of gluten-free options out there. I do want to say caution though, one of the other grains to avoid during this program is corn. And so a lot of the gluten-free products out there do contain corn. Corn is another one. First of all, corn is it can spike the blood sugar if you're eating a lot of things with high corn levels. That can cause the blood sugar to rise. Also, corn is another one that tends to be a trigger food for people, especially the Emmett skin types. Those with people with eczema and hives and the more like itchy, rashy kinds of skin issues, or people with autoimmune issues, including autoimmune skin problems. Corn is unfortunately oftentimes an issue, and corn is one of the most commonly genetically modified foods too.
Exactly.
So I did double in that one. Okay, and then
Mhm.
another one is dairy. Dairy is a big trigger food for those of you who are Olivia skin types. I would say that the more oily prone, acne prone skin, that is going to be probably one of your biggest triggers, sugar and dairy. Would you say, Katie?
Absolutely. I agree
Have you
completely.
noticed that in some of your skin calls?
Yeah, I've told you this one before, but it's a great example to tell our audience. I had someone tell me about how they knew they had a sensitivity to dairy, but they grabbed a coffee, like a latte or something, through the airport as they were running through, and it was too hot to sip until they got on the plane. And they got on the plane and they realized that they did not use the non-dairy option she asked for. They put just normal dairy in there. And she's like, whatever, I'm just going to drink it. She literally had a pimple coming up by the time the plane landed because her skin, and every single time, ice cream, anything like that, if she just she's like, oh, it'll be worth it. It's never worth it. She regrets it every time.
Yeah. I definitely notice it with my own skin too. And I'm not really an acne prone person, but if I eat too much dairy, especially during the holidays, like the dairy products, the cheese, the eggnog, all the stuff,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, it definitely, I start to notice the little pimples, so it'll start showing up. And it's something I've noticed with a lot of my patients.
Yes.
So that is a big one. Another big one for the, I would say the third most common for the Olivia skin types, for that oily acne prone skin, are eggs. Now, eggs surprise a lot of people because they're like, eggs are healthy, they're full of protein, they're a great way to start the day. And that's true. They're rich in B vitamins. And that doesn't mean that they're a problem for everyone. I don't personally have a problem with eggs. I can eat them, but I can tell you that so many of my patients, this is the one that surprised them. And so they'd already given up gluten, they've given up dairy, they'd cut back on sugar. But when they cut out eggs, that was the one that made the biggest difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's whole eggs, that's, egg whites, egg yolks, that's all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Even, yeah. So, giving it up for 2 weeks and then reintroducing at the end, and I will explain how to do that. You'll know for sure if that's a trigger food for you. This is a great way to find out.
Mm-hmm.
But makes breakfast a little bit trickier. I grew up with my dad growing up was allergic to wheat and eggs. So I learned a lot at a young age about getting creative on breakfast. So I'm going to share some tips with you on that. The next one is one that, Katie, I want you to talk about, and that is peanuts, because
Oh,
I know that one surprises people too. What has been your experience with peanuts?
many of you who've talked to me know this because it's my personal journey, but peanuts were my favorite food on the planet. And full transparency, I didn't know that I'd ever really do this cleanse before I did it last year, just because I've never really done diets or cleanses, because I feel like all food is good food for me in the sense that I kind of don't have a great appetite. So when I eat, I feel like it's good. But then when I went through the cleanse with you and I cut out, I was like, well, how am I going to eat? I don't have any peanuts. I want my favorite food. It blew my mind how much my skin improved in 2 weeks. And I don't even know that I knew it was peanuts at first because I had eliminated all the other things as well. And then, I ate them so much that I literally would keep them by my nightstand at night. I would eat them in my sleep. And I've done that since I was a kid. They were just my favorite. And the minute I started eating them again, I mean, just breakout. And now I am an amber skin type primarily, but I definitely have a ton of the Olivia skin types, tendencies with oil breakouts and all that. So yeah, I broke out horribly with peanuts. And since I've eliminated them now a year from my diet, my life is exponentially better. And it's exciting to tell people that it's okay to sometimes give up your favorite food, because the difference, the stress that I don't have now because I'm not breaking out, because it's cyclical. You break out, you get stressed, it makes you break out. It's a process again and again. So yeah, I've had amazing, tremendous results by eliminating peanuts. And the couple times that something has had peanuts in it, like a meal at a restaurant or something, I know the next day because I break out and I'm like, that had peanuts in it. It had to have. So it's been amazing, transformative for me.
Yeah. And it drives me crazy when doctors say food is not connected to your skin.
Yep.
I can't believe that there are still some dermatologists out there who say that. I mean, I've got a lot of dermatologist friends now who, are on board, and they're like, yeah, we understand the connection. And there are some of them that have even done research on it, published research on some of this. So we know there's a connection, but there's still a lot of doctors out there saying, no, it's not about what you eat. So unfortunately, that you might still hear that, but it's simply like you'll experience it yourself. You will experience it yourself, and then you'll know.
Mhm.
You don't need to have some doctor telling you that you need Accutane instead. So,
Yes.
I mean, if
I
you do,
love this approach. Before we go to medication, let's
yeah,
heal the gut, figure out what's going on. Because believe me, I was at that point 10 years ago when I went to aesthetic school where I was ready to jump. I knew tons of girls on Accutane. I knew tons of people on those terrible products. And I was desperate, but I never once had a doctor tell me like your favorite food on the planet, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, peanut butter cups. I didn't even know how many of my favorite things had peanuts in them until I eliminated them. But with eliminating that, I eliminated a lot of the other trigger foods too, I think, because I'm not eating those candy bars that had the peanuts in it, which has the sugar, which has, so. But you also pointed out avocados, that if you're sensitive to peanuts, pay attention to avocados. And I have implemented that. And I have noticed that if I eat too much avocado, I do get breakouts. So that's another thing.
yeah. Well, then, avocados are a tricky one because they are typically one of my favorite foods for skin because of the
Yes.
oils in
Yes.
there are really great for our skin, just the health of our skin. Our skin needs beneficial oils to keep it hydrated. It's not just
Yes.
about water and it's not just about moisturizers. It's about these oils that we eat that actually help our skin. The problem is when you already have really oily prone skin, some people with oily prone skin, with the Olivia skin types, have a hard time with high fat foods. So that is going to include peanuts, but for a different reason because of the oils in it, because of the fat in it. And also, you might have a problem with if you eat too much avocado. Now, a lot of times, people with acne prone skin, they know they have a tipping point. They can define that out if they have a tipping point of like, oh, I can have like half an avocado and I'm fine. But if I eat a whole one, I might break out. So there is it, and it has to do really with your fat. It might have to do with fat absorption and malabsorption. Like you're not digesting and absorbing fats properly. So it might be helpful to take a digestive enzyme to get your gut in a better state of health. And then you might be able to eat avocados again. Peanuts, probably not, but avocados, and other oils. But you might want to look at the high fatty foods in your diet and getting more of a balanced approach. I'm not saying fats are bad. There's fats are so important,
So
but there's
important.
a point for some people, especially acne prone skin, where it might be too much. So
Well, I've even noticed just now, I've just started eating like a fourth of what I typically would. Like, even if it's something that's aside, like on a salad or something, I won't eat all the avocado because I still really want it.
I know.
That's the hard part. But
So,
when I
but
break out, I wish I hadn't.
yeah, right. Well, again, for most people, avocados, I mean, and for myself, I can eat a whole avocado and not break out. Like I
Mhm.
think for most people, but I'm more of the Emmett skin type, or I'm getting ready to turn 49 and I think about the hydration and the antioxidants it provides for my skin. So for those of you who are sage skin types, avocados are fantastic. So, but for those of you who are sensitive, then you might want to consider that. We're going a little bit deeper right now than we do in my book. So you guys are getting a little bit of an inside scoop in some of the things that we've learned along the way as
Mhm.
well. So a couple more foods that I wanted to go over that we're eliminating over the 2 weeks, and that is soy. Soy is another one of those foods that is a commonly genetically modified food, unfortunately. So there are concerns that that might be impacting our health in some way. Soy is also a common food intolerance or food allergy. So it is one that I say just cut it out for 2 weeks, see if it creates an issue. Probably more for the Heath and Emmett skin types than other skin types, but really could be for anyone. And the last one that I haven't mentioned so far is the nightshade family. This is one that surprises people also. You can look up all the full list of nightshades, but they're like tomatoes, peppers, eggplant. I know a lot of people love these. Um,
Potatoes,
Potatoes, yes.
but not sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes, yams are okay, but thankfully. But yeah, the nightshade family, here's the thing, and this is one that I learned about in medical school, and I've learned a lot in my practice that nightshades can be for susceptible people, they can be pro-inflammatory. So if you have inflammation as one of the big root causes, if you have, for example, an Emmett skin type or a Heath skin type, this could be one of your big trigger foods, this group of foods. And so, again, it's just one of those things where you take it out for 2 weeks, see how you feel. The other sign, big sign with that nightshades might not be good for you is if you have arthritis or chronic pain,
Yep.
pain in your joints, stiffness. Nightshades are oftentimes a trigger for that. If you're kind of susceptible to that, maybe it runs in your family, maybe you have you're getting a bit older like the rest, like all of us, and you get up and you just have some aches and pains. Notice how you feel after cutting out nightshades. You might notice a difference. You might decide it's not worth eating them.
The
Or
thing
you
that
might
surprised me was how many nightshades there are.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the alternatives to these. As I mentioned with caffeine, herbal teas are a nice alternative. If for most of us, the weather's cold, it's nice to have something warm in the morning. I get it. I love a nice warm drink in the morning. Actually,
Mhm.
we have one all day long. People that
All
know me,
day.
I have so many different types of mugs, and he's like, look at this one. Isn't this a cool mug?" But yeah, enjoy your teas. Add a little bit of stevia, or if you really need a little bit of honey, that's okay. A little bit of honey is okay. Just don't go overboard. If you could cut out all of those types of sweeteners that increase blood sugar during this program, that's really great. But have cutting out the caffeine, switching to herbal teas. There's so many different ones. There's a whole discussion in the Facebook group on ideas for herbal teas. So check that post out because there's some ideas in there. Sugar, like I said, stevia is a nice alternative if you're looking for just like add a slight sweetness to something. I prefer the powdered stevia, just adding a little bit of that. Sometimes I'll get a stevia plant and use a leaf in a smoothie, and that'll blend up nicely. It does not, the thing about stevia is it's natural. It does not alter your blood sugar. That is one of the really great things about it compared to something like maple syrup or honey. Those will cause your blood sugar, still can cause your blood sugar to rise. So the stevia is one of my favorites. Monk fruit is another popular one. It wasn't as popular when I wrote my book, so it's not really in my book, but that is one. Do you know that monk fruit, when you buy monk fruit, it's typically combined with erythritol? Erythritol can be and xylitol. These are alcohol sugars. They can be nice alternatives, especially if you're trying to bake something. The only downside of these alcohol sugars, the erythritol, xylitol, is that erythritol is for baking. Xylitol is used in like dental products, toothpaste, gum, those kinds of things. It actually has antibacterial properties to it, xylitol. So it's nice to use in those products. The downside of these can be that they cause some people some digestive upset. So if you try using erythritol and it just doesn't sit well with your digestive system, it may not be a great option for you. But do know that when you buy monk fruit, it usually has erythritol in it. So which is a great alternative. Just know that if it doesn't work for you, then you might just have to skip on some of the sweets or use stevia instead. Um, there, I do want to remind you all, this book is full of recipes. I've got lots of recipes in this book, even for desserts. There are breakfast ideas, lunch, dinner. There are all kinds of ideas. I can tell you, I'm a foodie. I love to eat. My kids love to eat. My youngest, who's 15, has mastered the art of gluten-free baking because
So
she can't
good.
have gluten, and so she's become an amazing baker. And she Talia Sweets is her Instagram in case you want to check her out because it's pretty impressive. And then my oldest kid is he was studying to become a chef because we eat a lot in my house, but we also make our own food because we want to eat whole foods. And when you start making your own food, you start to appreciate how much stuff can be in other stuff and
Mhm.
other foods, like prepackaged things. And there's an appreciation you have for food. So if you start to really focus on these 2 weeks is making your own food as much as possible, or buying elements of it to make it easier for yourself as well. So, swapping out alcohol, you could do what I do these days is I do sparkling water with a little bit of juice, or like some berries, some frozen berries I put in there, a squeeze of lime, a sprig of rosemary or something like that. Like there's some really nice alternatives to an alcoholic beverage. I do actually have a recipe in my book for a mocktail, and so you could try that one out as well. So that's a pretty easy one to swap out for most people. And I mean, if you
Sometimes you
support
just
like
need to put it in a pretty glass.
yeah, right.
Just
Especially
put
if
it
you're
in a pretty
gonna be,
glass.
it's not that most of us are being very social these days, but if you are a social and you're around other people, a lot of other people will want to encourage you to drink with them. And so just having a glass that looks kind of festive with a sparkling and with some fruit and stuff in it, like it looks like you have a cocktail. So then they'll leave you alone. Um, and there are also flavored stevia drops that you can get, like sparkling water. We have a soda stream. You can make your own, and then adds the flavored stevia drops. So just like lemon, lime, orange, grape, all these different. So that's nice if you like to have some kind of flavor to your water. Some people just don't like to just drink water. And like I said, when it comes to gluten, there are lots of alternatives to gluten out there. Just look at the ingredient list, because just because it's gluten free doesn't mean it's healthy. Oh my gosh, it drives me crazy sometimes when I look at the gluten free section, like at Costco or some of these places, and they're loaded with sugar and like tons of other processed ingredients. So just because it says it's gluten free, I mean, my daughter and I were laughing the other day. We were looking at our pantry and how many things say gluten free. Like the thing of container of sugar says gluten free.
The
Like,
sugar says gluten free.
and it
Okay.
goes to the health food store, so it must be okay. But no, it's still sugar. Um,
Well, that's the other thing is I think people do sometimes say, "Oh, well, I got it at a Whole Food store, so therefore it's good." So
mhm.
remember, you still have to be
Yeah,
paying
right.
attention.
Yeah. So just look at the ingredients. You want to make sure that it doesn't have peanuts, soy, corn, nightshades, all the sugar, all that kind of stuff in it. Dairy, there are lots of alternatives for dairy out there. You can find things that are like a coconut milk, a coconut yogurt, almond milk, almond yogurt. Just again, look at the ingredients, make sure there's no sugar added. There are tons of alternative nut milks that are really great. My absolute favorite is macadamia nut milk. There's a vanilla macadamia nut milk that's unsweetened. That's so good. You can
That's
also,
what I was going to say is the unsweetened though. So it can be vanilla unsweetened because the
right.
vanilla is in there, but it's not sugar
Yeah.
vanilla. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually have recipes in my book too on making your own almond milk and coconut milk. It's really pretty simple to do, but it's also really easy to buy them, because there's cashew nut milk, there's oat milk, I mean, there are all kinds of stuff out there, almond milk. So just pick your favorite. And I mean, I also find that the cans of full fat coconut milk are really great to use in like sauces and baking and things. And we'll share some more ideas in the group, but that's a nice alternative. So eggs, it's kind of hard to sub out eggs completely, and like you're not going to find a substitute for scrambled eggs that's not tofu. And again, we're not doing tofu because we're not doing soy. But for breakfast, you can there are lots of ideas for smoothies that we're going to share. Simple breakfast would be to do, if you have the all-in-one 14-day cleanse kit, you can use the shake powder that's in that kit, or some other protein powder. We also have a regular protein powder at the Spa Doctor. And you can use a scoop of that, handful of berries, a handful of greens, and some of that unsweetened nut milk. And that's it. And so it's that simple. You can
Those are
also,
what I do. It's just that easy.
yeah, it's that easy. Now, my fiance, he likes to add in more things in there and boost up the nutritional value of things like chia seeds and stuff like that. Awesome. I love it. He does not cook, but he can make smoothies. So he makes the smoothies for us every morning, and I take care of the rest.
That seems
So,
like fair trade.
and he also is really good at cleaning, so doing the dishes and stuff. So that helps out. Um, soy, corn, nightshades. I think you'll find plenty of alternatives to those. Just look at your produce aisle. What else can you try? This is a really great opportunity to not focus on the foods that you can't eat, but focus on the foods that maybe you haven't tried and get creative. Please get a copy of my book. Look at the bonus recipes that are in the Facebook group. Try making some new recipes. I encourage you to share your recipes in the group to inspire other people. What are you making? And it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be quite simple, but start looking at other, when you go to the produce section, what are some things that you haven't tried before? How can you cook it? How can you prepare it? Because here's one of the other things about eating a variety of different types of vegetables is that it helps with your gut microbiome. There's been research that shows that while most people eat the same foods over and over and over again, when people eat a variety of different types of produce, it actually benefits our gut microbiome, those beneficial microorganisms that help our digestion and also help our skin. So I encourage you to eat these foods. So in my book, for those of you who have it, I just want to bring your attention to a couple of things. This is on page 54. There's basically, actually, it starts on page 53, foods to eat. So I go through all the different things to eat, the different types of vegetables, what's in a serving sizes, fruits. I talk about the benefits of things like avocados and olives, even though they're not typically thought of as fruits. Berries, the antioxidants in there. I also talk about clean protein and what to eat there, and the importance of getting collagen in some of the proteins that are out there. And then I also have some tips for if you're vegan. Nuts and seeds are a really important thing. Getting 1 to 2 servings of nuts and seeds a day. Legumes, beans, and peas. Getting 1 to 3 servings of those a day are great. You can also find gluten-free grains like quinoa. Quinoa is my favorite because it's high in protein and it's also gluten-free. So you could also do a little bit of rice and maybe try some new grains like millet or amaranth. And if you want a little bit of extra support for your gut, some fermented vegetables be great for you to start including kimchi, sauerkraut, and making sure that you're getting the really great kind, either making your own and doing, you can follow like a recipe in my book, or buying it from a health food store because they're not all created the same. So you want to make sure you're getting a good source. You also don't want to miss out on some nice herbs and spices, and you can get those as well. And all of that's in my book and recommendations on more of those. Also in the book, I talk about, so that's the clean plate section. So I guide you through exactly how to do it. Again, if you don't have a copy of my book yet, you could still get bonus recipes, the shopping guide. You get an idea now of all the things that you can still eat in the 2 weeks. There's the clean plate. There's also clean slate. These are the skincare products. You also want to reduce your exposure to toxins in those. So if you have my book, we got to start wrapping up for today. But if you have my book, you can see all of the ingredients to avoid, the ingredients to include. But Katie, you've worked a lot with people with their skincare products. About the toxins in skincare products, right?
Absolutely. And I think that we also have a list you can download to help you shop. So that's another resource that's in there. I think I personally actually like to keep that in my bag so that if there's something I'm in the mood for, whether it's a shampoo or just any random thing, I can pull that little list out, look at one side to see what to avoid, look at the other side. It's imperative. Again, it's, you know, it's the biggest organ on our body, so we want to make sure we're not putting all these toxic things on it.
Yeah, yeah. So look at those ingredients. Just a few to call out right now, and we'll cover more of that, is fragrance, parabens, oxybenzone. Those are a few to look out for. You definitely want to avoid those and instead choosing clean, non-toxic skincare products. Of course, at the Spa Doctor, we don't use any toxic ingredients in our products. They're also gluten-free and all of, allergen-free, so that, you're making sure that you're getting really, really, truly clean products. Our products are EWG verified. For those you don't know, Environmental Working Group, EWG.org is actually a great resource if you don't know about it. EWG.org has a skin deep database. Yep. Where they also have great information on food. Like they have the Dirty Dozen, Clean 15 of foods to avoid, or foods to buy organic and which ones not to. So check that out too at EWG.org. And then we go check out their Skin Deep database. The Spa Doctor skincare products are EWG verified, means it meets their criteria. So that should kind of give you some indication of how clean our products are. So to make it easy for you, again, you can use your discount code that what's going on right now, Reboot40, if you want to try out some of the Spa Doctor skincare products. So I also want to encourage you, for those of you who have a copy of my book, go ahead and look at the other sections. We've covered a lot on food because that's where people have the most questions. But it's also about the clean slate, the skincare products. But it's also about clean body, about eliminating other toxins in your environment. So I'm going to go live again in 2 days, and I'm going to share more about how to really keep an eye out in your home and ways to reduce toxins in your home. But I also would encourage you to start doing things to help improve your detoxification pathways. You want to make sure that your digestive system is working well. You do not want to be constipated. You want to make sure that you're doing things to help making sure that when you are exposed to toxins or your body's trying to release them, that they're getting out. So it's not normal to go a day without having a bowel movement. Just so you know, like you want to be regular once or 2, 3 times a day, but you want it to be normal consistency color. I got to talk about that as a naturopathic doctor. We have to talk about poop because it's part of being healthy.
Everybody poops.
Everybody poops. So we want to make sure that that's working. If you feel like yours is sluggish or it's not working, focus on that. You need to start doing things. You eat more fiber, start looking at what's going on with your gut microbiome. You might want to take a probiotic. You might want to consider supplements like magnesium, which actually can help get things moving. Vitamin C, fiber. These are supplements. These are all things that can help get things moving. A lot of it starts with a healthy diet. But if you still need additional help, you might need to talk to your doctor. Hopefully you have a functional medicine doctor, a naturopathic doctor that can help you with that. There are also tips in the books on detoxification things to help support your liver, your kidneys, your lymphatic system, perspiration. Get out there and exercise. That's a free one. Go exercise and sweat. That's one of the great ways that you can detox. I talk about things like dry skin brushing and castor oil packs in the book, and I'll talk more about that next time. But if you do have the book, I'd go ahead and start implementing those, start using those practices, and so that you can get the most out of this 2-week program.
Yeah. Don't forget the mind. Our mind's in there too.
Yes. And so the last thing in the book is, it's not the last thing, but as part of the 4 steps is that to do the clean mind, the stress management. I'm also going to talk about that. But for now, think about doing breath work.
Yes.
You killed 2 birds with one stone. That's a terrible expression.
Yeah.
What's a better way of saying that?
I'll work on that.
Yeah, well, let's work on a better alternative. So, but when you do breath work, you're detoxing and you're helping de-stress. So toxins come out of the breath as well. That's another way that we detox is through the lungs. So doing deep breaths in and out, expanding your belly.
Belly breaths.
Belly breathing is a great way to detox, and it also helps soothe the mind. It gets you more into that rest and digest, that parasympathetic state, where a lot of healing can happen, and it's important for your skin. So again, I'm going to cover more in a couple days, but wanted to get you started with the food and get you going. And Katie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, everyone, we will see you next time.
Thanks for joining us.